Hello, and thank you for joining us on the CUFI Weekly. And this week we have a really special episode. I had the unique privilege of speaking to a very special guest, and I wanted to share that conversation with you all. Congresswoman Claudia Tenney represents New York's 24th Congressional District as a member of the U.S. House of Representatives. She currently sits on the House Committee on Ways and Means and the House Committee on Science, Space, and Technology. Now, Congressman Tenney has been incredibly vocal, courageous, and straightforward in confronting Iran and its nefarious regime, and has shown support for the people of Iran, has called out the IRGC, and has really worked hard to make sure that our administration is treating the threat from Iran seriously and also holding the regime and those connected to the regime accountable. So, Congresswoman, you have been particularly courageous and vocal in essentially confronting the regime in Tehran, where sadly so many in our government haven't been. And in late January, you spearheaded a resolution in support of the Iranian protesters that received overwhelming bipartisan support on the House floor and passed 420 to 1. Could you tell us more about your efforts and the importance of this current movement in Iran?
Yeah, well, thank you. And I think right now we are at a real opportunity in history to see maybe the first time since the regime, the Shah was overthrown by this regime in '79. We're seeing the first real opportunity that we have to give the citizens of Iran the opportunity to create their own government and have peace, prosperity, and freedom. And I think the regime is very stressed, but unfortunately, I think the Biden administration has been relatively quiet about doing something, just taking extra steps I think they could take to really push us to the point where we could do something. So we wanted to make sure the Biden administration recognized the courage and the bravery of the women and men across all of Iran who have stood up and protested against the regime's brutality after the horrible incident against Masa Amini, the woman who was killed for a garment violation, basically a clothing violation. It's been incredible to see these protests. And I think that a lot of experts, and I'm not an expert by any measure, but I'm a watcher. I think this looks a lot different than just, seeking reforms. It looks like a cry for freedom and a cry for a new regime.
You recently sent a letter to the Biden administration for failing to comply with a legally mandated reporting requirement on Iran's military capabilities that you talked about briefly. Could you tell us more about that violation and what Congress can do to ensure it receives the report?
Well, of course. So this was included in voted on in December of 2021. So this is a provision that we got added to the NDAA, the National Defense Authorization Act. That actually required the Biden administration to give us the intelligence and the report on Iran, a report to Congress, so that we know the nature of what's coming and going out of Iran in terms of weapons, who they're negotiating with, who our enemies are, who's out there supporting the regime, and how do we strategize on this? And also, as I alluded to earlier, in the event that there is a chance that the people actually choose a government other than the mullah's tyrannical regime, I want to be sure that the IRGC is not going to displace them, and now we end up with a military dictatorship there. And so I think it's good to know just the level of weaponization. Obviously, we have a new Iran nuclear deal being negotiated with Rob Malley and the administration and other actors. We haven't gotten a report from Rob Malley either. And we'd like the Biden administration to step up and be a leader, set the example for the UK, for the European Union and others to join with us to ensure that this moment is not lost, this actual moment where we feel that the Iranians are as close as they have ever been to having a democratic, peaceful regime or government, and to overthrow this regime, and let the people of Iran do that. Let's be strong in supporting them, and really do that by demonstrating that we do have the assets and we do have the ability through sanctions to actually put them, increase pressure on the regime and other outside interests to make sure that we actually give them an opportunity for peace, because they don't really have a voice. We've seen shutdowns in their ability to communicate outside of Iran. We worked with Elon Musk in making sure that they could get Starlink and other ways of communicating to the world, because in a closed existence, we don't know what no one knows, and no one knows that we can help them, and they can't let us know what's happening in the very interior world there. So a lot has been happening, and I just think this is, once in a lifetime moment where we actually have some room to help them make the changes that they need to make to their government, which I think will impact the entire world.
No, truly so. Congresswoman, thank you so much. Firstly, for everything you do in combating Iran. At CUFI, we've been talking about this for years, so I'm sure all our 11 plus million members appreciate the incredible work that you do. And thank you so much for taking some time out of your busy schedule to speak to us today.
Well, thank you so much, and thank you for continuing to stand up for peace and prosperity and democracy and things that we all revere as human beings. And freedom is certainly something that we have to preserve and protect. So thank you for being a champion and a courageous leader on that as well. Thanks so much.
Once again, very grateful to Congressman Tenney for taking time out of her busy schedule to speak to us. The work she does is invaluable and so important, and really is core to what CUFI has been talking about with the threat that Iran and its nefarious regime pose. This is Kasim for the CUFI Weekly. For Zion's sake, do not remain silent. Thanks for checking out this episode. Be sure to like and subscribe so you get a notification every time a new episode hits. And if you want to check out some of our previous episodes, and we've got some really good ones, click on one of the thumbnails and that will take you right there. And finally, if you want to know more about CUFI and the work we do, go to cufi.org to check out all the resources we have available free to you.